Hello and welcome to another edition of The Morning Serve. Emma Lawrence alongside Casey Dellacqua. Casey, we're all so excited to see Alex de Minaur back in action this evening. Fourth round action, his biggest test yet, up against the fifth seed Andrey Rublev. Just how dangerous is this one for him?
Yeah, it's going to be the biggest test that Alex has had so far in the tournament. But in saying that, I do believe that Alex is both physically and mentally ready for this battle. And that's really important because maybe in the past, perhaps he's physically not quite been there or even mentally just a little bit off. But there's no doubt he has done so much work in the last 12 months for these big matches to beat players like Rublev in a fourth round and to keep going through the tournament.
And what parts of Rublev's game does Alex really have to target, do you think?
I think he can really break down the serve of Rublev if he can get into his service games really early in a match and start to put some pressure there. And then if he can just manage his own service games, I think that will put him in a really good position because we know that Alex is going to just fight, he's going to hustle, he's going to scramble. Look, Rublev is an extremely tough player and he had to get through a tough first round match as well. So I think he's freed up a little bit too, but I think Alex just needs to focus on his strengths and really go for it. And there's going to be ebbs and flows, I'm sure, through the match, but really just think about process, think about that instead of the outcome, perhaps.
He's certainly knocked off some incredible players and top 10 players, Alex, this year already. Novak Djokovic, Alexander Zverev, Carlos Alcaraz. How much confidence does that give him coming into this one, knowing that he can beat the best?
Yeah, look, I think that is probably why I say he's most mentally ready because when you come off wins like that, like after he beat Novak in Perth, we were wondering how is he going to perform against Alexander Zverev? Is he going to be a little bit flat? But he just came out and was just another level. So I truly believe that Alex is in the best place mentally because of the work he's done, but also because of those recent fantastic wins, but also the fact he's top 10 in the world now. He knows that he belongs where he's at, and I think, yeah, he's got, this is the best shot he's ever had.
There's been so much hype around Alex, and we haven't had an Aussie man make the quarter since Nick Kyrgios in 2015. So I know he does seem relaxed, but do you think there is an element of that pressure weighing on his shoulders at all?
Yeah, look, as an Australian, I've been there and experienced. I've been to a couple of fourth rounds here at the Australian Open, and there's no doubt you start to feel that little bit of expectation. I think the thing with Alex is he is slightly different in a sense. He really thrives with that, and the more support he gets, almost the harder he pushes. I did see him over hitting indoors the other day. He's trying to get his practice sessions in a little bit more of a private environment where he can just focus on his tennis, and I'm sure he's shutting the phone down and doing all the little things that I think really help when you're in a tournament mode. So yeah, look, I think he's also he's 24 now, he's matured and he's a little bit more experienced for these moments as well.
Well, speaking of someone really stepping up in the spotlight, only 16 years old, Mirra Andreeva into the fourth round. It's incredible, and I know everyone's making the comparisons already to Martina Hingis in 97, but if there's one element that could prove a downfall, that emotional side, because in her previous match, she got angry at herself and bit her arm. What did you make of that?
Yeah, look, it wasn't probably nice to see, but she was doing it purely to stay calm and composed, so instead of throwing the racket, opted for that. Look, she is 16 years of age, so let's not forget that. And I think over the years we can be really hard on those teenage players coming through, but we have to remember she's doing the best that she can. She made the junior girls singles final here last year, and at the end of the match was also in tears, but she's also grown so much as a person in those last 12 months. What I love about her is the way she plays tennis. She's got this element of surprise. She plays shots where you think, hey, that's a really interesting shot selection, but it really works. And she's got some awesome game. She's got an awesome game style, but I agree. It's probably going to take a few years for her to combine the game style along with the emotional and kind of mentality that she needs.
Well, she's still got to be mentally strong in some sense, given she was down 5-1 in that deciding set and then came back to win it. So what does that say? Not necessarily just mentally that she can focus, but tactically as well, to be able to know how to fight your way back. It's pretty incredible.
It is incredible, and it proves that she is determined. It proves that she's a fighter. It proves that even in probably a moment where she feels like she's down and out, that she's willing to fight. In the match tiebreak in her previous match, she was come-onning after every point. She was really trying to lift herself, and that is a very good sign of someone that's got a great attitude and never gives up, and that's sometimes all you can do. She's going to lose matches, but so far she's come through. She's in the 4th round, and she had a good run at Wimbledon last year, got to the 4th round there as well. So, look, she is a fantastic player, and I'm really glad that Australia's got to see some new talent on the women's side.
Andy Murray had a really interesting perspective and said perhaps the reason that she is so good at such a young age is because she's hard on herself. So in commentary they said, oh, she's being too hard on herself, but perhaps that's what's going to make Mirra Andreeva a champion. Do you agree with Andy Murray there, or where do you sit? I suppose it's a balance.
It is a balance, but I probably tend to agree with Andy Murray. I think to be the type of player she is at the age she's at, there's certainly a sense of being hard, as long as she's also, of course, giving herself some praise. But I've seen enough of her to also see that she just wants to win at all costs, and that is a great thing, super competitive. So yeah, look, I think if you want to be the best, you have to tend to be a little bit harder on yourself. But I would suggest she has little things in place, like if she goes and wins a match or tournament, like go and praise yourself, or go and do something nice for yourself, because if you work that hard, you've also got to reward yourself as well.
And you mentioned last year when she was in tears, you were actually there to console her. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, look, I think the mother in me just kicked in, and I could see how much she was playing a friend. And when you're playing a friend and you're in the juniors and it's a slam final, junior slam final, she just wanted to win so bad. I just wanted to remind her that she tried her absolute best, and that's all you can do sometimes, as long as you've learnt something from the match. She's had such a good tournament. That's kind of all I said to her. So it was a moment for me to really, I guess, pay it forward, in a sense of making sure that she has perspective in a moment where she was about to go and receive her runners-up trophy. But look where she is 12 months later. Pretty incredible.
And how do you like her chances up against Barbara Krejcikova?
Look, I actually think she's going to win that match. I think that Krejcikova is obviously a very, very great player, Grand Slam champion, won majors before, and experienced. Look, I think Andreeva might win only because she's got that youthfulness, she's got that competitiveness. I do think it's going to be a tight match purely because the way that Krejcikova plays. So she's going to throw some loopier balls up, she's going to vary the pace, she's going to use the slice. So I guess it's going to be interesting to see how Andreeva deals with that, but I think it's going to be a tight match.
Well, from one of the young superstars to one of the veterans and best in the world, Novak Djokovic, a little bit of an interesting press conference whereby he finally admitted that Roger Federer, perhaps when Novak was coming through, didn't like some of Novak's antics. What did you make of those comments?
Yeah, look, I think we have been so fortunate, Emma, to be part of a generation where we've got to see Novak, Roger and Rafa all be exceptional players. And I think in different eras, had they all been individually probably the best, it's just made for such a great spectacle, hasn't it, over the last 20 years. So look, I think Novak has probably been on the outer, in a sense. We know that Roger and Rafa have been praised for their sportsmanship and the way they go about things, but there's no doubt that Novak gives so much back to the game as well. Maybe he's gone about it a little bit differently, but I think this is Novak's time to shine. He's still out here, he's still winning majors, and I think he's going about it in a really great way.
Do you think he's becoming, as he gets older, particularly in the last 2 to 3 years, far more comfortable in his own skin, and he's being more honest in those interviews and media conferences?
Yes, I do. I think Novak has become way more authentic in the way that he goes about his press conference, particularly what he is giving the fans and what he's giving the audience. And I think that's actually playing in his favour, because I do feel at times he's perhaps tried to sit in the same kind of box as Roger and Rafa, but I think you just got to be yourself, right? You've got to, whether you're polarising or whether people like you or not, you've just got to stand true to who you are. And I do believe that in the last couple of years, and maybe because it's more about him, maybe he's just got that freedom and he's a bit more vulnerable with who he is. So it's kind of nice to see.
Up against Adrian Mannarino, who survived an epic 5-setter. Novak naturally comes in as the hot favourite, but do you give Mannarino, or how much of a chance do you give Mannarino? We know anything can happen and has happened so far.
Yeah, look, I think Mannarino's got the game with the lefty and the variety to maybe cause a little bit of trouble for Novak, but I think Novak will still win. I think that Mannarino has played some great tennis. I think I heard that his secret was a bit of tequila, so maybe that's what I was doing.
Nice.
Maybe that's what I was doing wrong through my career. But the win against Ben Shelton was massive for Mannarino, and I think it's going to be a tough ask. Look, I think Novak has proven, even if he hasn't been in the best form since the AO started, he's been able to somehow find his way through matches. And a tough week for Novak is probably not a bad thing leading into the second week. He's had lots of court time, probably more than we all expected. But I do think Novak will get through that one.
A day match. We haven't seen that in a long time for Novak because Alex de Minaur has the night session. Does that affect things at all, given he's so used to that prime time slot in the evening?
Yeah, look, I think it's a factor, to be honest. I think the fact that he's going to be playing in the day, in the heat, with different elements, wind, and, the night sessions are definitely different here at the Australian Open in terms of conditions, and we know that he prefers playing at night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, I think that will favour Mannarino. I think Mannarino is the type of player that likes a little bit of the elements around when he's playing. So, yeah, I think it will play a bit of a factor.
Aryna Sabalenka, she is on a rampage. She looks almost unstoppable at the moment, and a couple of bagels as well. Have you ever seen such a dominant first 3 rounds from a player in the women's draw?
Not really, not in recent times. We always see in the early rounds often, we've had some big upsets here, and we often see some of the big seeds drop out in the early rounds or have tough matches. But Sabalenka is cruising through, defending champion. I do think that's a good thing, because sometimes when you come back to a place where you've had so much success, and Sabalenka is coming back as the defending champion, I think she just is in a really good state. She's locked in. You can see on the court she's in the zone. It's probably not bad for her to get tested at some point, and I'm sure she will in the next few rounds. But look, she has been absolutely, like you said, on a rampage. She's the destroyer at the moment. Look out anyone that comes in her way, because she's ready to fire.
Do you think she's in better form than when she came last year and won the title?
Yeah, I do. She looks so extremely fit, does Sabalenka. She looks explosive. She's got such a good team around her, including her strength and conditioning coach and physio. And so, yeah, look, for me, she seems physically really in a good position, and even from an injury perspective. And also, yeah, she's just got a good head on her shoulders. She's really dealt with being one of the players that people are after to beat really well. She kind of likes that feeling. So, yeah, I think she's in a really good position heading into the second week.
And for Amanda Anisimova, it's going to be so tough against Sabalenka, but is there an area or some form of weakness that you can try and target in Sabalenka?
Yeah, look, I think we've seen over the years her second serve can get shaky, but she has also improved the consistency of that. So I think Anisimova's got the ability to be able to step in the court and take, I guess, put points back on her terms and making points neutral, and then look to be aggressive. But I do think Sabalenka is going to come through that one.
Another match that will be interesting in the women's draw, Ukrainian Marta Kostyuk, who's been very outspoken for a while now in terms of playing Russians, and she's up against one in Maria Timofeeva. For Kostyuk, does this change the way she approaches the game? Because tactically you've got something, but mentally you're fired up as well in the back of your mind. How does it change things?
Yeah, Kostyuk has dealt with this situation about playing another Russian for obviously a couple of years, but in a 4th round, and Timofeeva is actually a feisty little Russian as well. She will not give up. She will fight for every point. Kostyuk has done a really good job honing in on her game and what she needs to do, and that's really important to separate the game from probably other external factors that are going on, even though it would be extremely difficult. But yeah, Kostyuk's having a great tournament.
For Timofeeva, she's young as well, and as you said, she's fiery, but how does she keep her cool knowing that you're up against someone who genuinely doesn't want to play you or like you?
Yeah, look, I think Timofeyeva's a young player too. So I think she, though, has, from what I've seen against other opponents during the week, Timofeyeva's just a fighter, but she hasn't got caught up in matches. She's been just focused on winning. She played Wozniacki out on JCA, and they were having such a battle, but Timofeyeva didn't kind of carry on or get involved with too much antics. She was really locked in. So look, I just hope that they have a fantastic match, that may the best player win, and and it all ends up okay.
And just finally, tips for these big matches in the men's draw: Stefanos Tsitsipas and Taylor Fritz.
I'm going to go for Taylor Fritz. I think he's had a shaky start to the season, but the last couple of rounds he's had to fight, and I'm going to go with Taylor Fritz.
And Jannik Sinner and Karen Khachanov.
Yeah, Jannik Sinner for me. Yeah. He's going through pretty quiet, isn't he? He's in the same half of the draw as Novak and Alex. So Sinner hasn't been spoken about a lot, but he's playing some great tennis, so Sinner for me.
So much to look forward to, Casey. Appreciate your time as always, and we will see everyone tomorrow for another edition of the Morning Serve.
Wide World of Sports is your home of the Australian Open.
With highlights of every match of the AO, the on-court interviews, and every day with the Morning Serve, you'll be ahead of the game.
So click that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing this Australian Open.